So the 11th house is it's a desire house. Remember, these are 3, 7, 11 are desire houses. They're karma houses. And again, I think a lot of times we in the West, when we study Eastern philosophy, spirituality, we kind of look down on desire, but really desire is the seed of energy of all creation. It is built into all of us. To reach higher and higher and higher is built into whoever created us, put that seed in there inside of us. It is not, it's the intention behind the desire that matters. Desires aren't necessarily bad. And what we believe in the Vedic system is that the purpose of all these births, and I think there are 1 million births, is to fulfill every desire. To go cycle by cycle by cycle by cycle. And once all desires are fulfilled, only then you can be enlightened. As long as there is a desire, right? A strong desire, whatever it is, whether it's relationship or saving the world, whatever, it is another reason you get thrown back into the wheel of karma to be born again and again and again. So I have a quote here from Yogananda. As often as we have come to earth, we have developed new imperfections and new desires. So we come back here again and again until we fulfill all desires, or until through increase of wisdom we banish those desires. We must satisfy our desires, or by cultivating wisdom do away with them altogether. And Jung talked a lot about this as well, because I think subverting desires is considered very dangerous. Subverting desires actually ends up in the shadow part, and then they come out in ugly ways. Yogananda, Yogananda, he's the author of Autobiography of a Yogi, if you know that famous book. And I believe the story is that when he died, the day just right before he died, he had one desire left, which is to get a fresh coconut. Because in those days, you couldn't go to the Chinese store here or H-E-B or Whole Foods and buy a fresh coconut. And if you die, he was an enlightened being, but he could be born again because he had a desire left for one coconut. Okay, so and apparently just before he died, about an hour before he died, one of his disciples had just come back from India, and he brought him a fresh coconut. So all his desires were fulfilled. So I'll talk a little bit more about desire, which is since we are working with the 11th house in Aquarius, which is the apex, the fulfillment of all our desires. And, that's why I showed the beggar king. I think that we all have a desire to be king, but we all have the desire to be the beggar king, which means we're not low down, but we are with everybody and we are equal to everybody, okay? Every human being has this built-in system within them. So these are some pictures I thought would be funny to share with you. The Cannes Film Festival, I believe in 2005, there's a film called Darshan, The Embrace. It was produced by a very famous French filmmaker. And it's really a movie they made about Amma, about her life. It's kind of a documentary. And it won, in the Cannes Film Festival, it won some awards, and it was being shown in 2005. And this person here, and here, you see him here, he's Amma's most senior monk, okay? That's why he's in saffron robes, the renunciate. He's been with her, I believe, for 40 years. But what he told the story was that, so here he is walking the red carpet. Do you see that? And so the story he told was that when he was a young man, before he when he first went to meet Amma accidentally, he's a performer. If you go see Amma, you will see he's the one who performs on stage for Amma. He's funny, and he translates her. He's an incredible singer. I mean, his voice is, and the story, apparently Amma heard his voice and said, he's going to sing with me or whatever. Anyways, he had a very strong desire. He said he wanted to be a movie star, a Bollywood movie star. That was his desire, right? But must be in his charts, in his karma, his planetary dasha changed, and he ended up becoming a monk. But that desire was always there. So when in 2005, he got to walk the red carpet, received this prize. This is him, you know, giving the speech for whatever they do when they receive the prize and everything else. And, you know, he had all these microphones pointed at him. He said, "Oh my God, my desire fulfilled." So the Indian mythology is filled with stories of great mentors and teachers and gurus fulfilling the desires of their devotees so that they don't have to come back again. You know, if they're very close to enlightenment, they just give it to them. So that otherwise, this beautiful man is going to have to come back again and be a film star, be a Bollywood movie star. So anyways, he got, you know, this is an awkward photo, and there's all these, you know, people walking. There's these three people walking in their very humble clothes, walking the red carpet. Now, Amma, of course, herself would not go to that to receive it, but she sent him. So the story goes that his 11th house desire to be, you know, a famous Bollywood movie star was fulfilled in this exercise, in this event. And you contrast that to Amma herself, who is now, okay, somebody has a question. I figured somebody would. Oh, great. Heather, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a good story. It's going to get better. I'll tell you more of the story. So in 2002, Amma received, I want to contrast that. So I mean, although I am not putting myself, in, you know, I am not, you know, a monk or anything of that type, but the 99.99% of us still have desires. Always remember that, okay? But then there are maybe 5 people who walk this earth who don't, who have transcended. And we'll see that in the 12th house when we get to the 12th, who've gone beyond it. And so here's Amma receiving in 2002, the United Nations gave her the Gandhi King Award, and it was given, Jane Goodall was the master of ceremony, there she is. And she was the previous recipient. And she described Amma as God's love in a human body. I'm going to cry. And, you know, it was a very beautiful event. And this story is particularly touching to me because my family, I don't know if most of you know, but my home is in Switzerland. My parents lived there. I went to school in Switzerland. That's my home. That's where I go home to. So we had an opportunity to host Amma and her party during this event because they didn't have people there, and we were the family that was hosting. And I will send you all an article on it. It's on my website. I've written about it. It was a phenomenal, you know, week for me. I was running Jupiter K2. So anyways, but what I wanted to share with you, the part was that now Amma is receiving the award, and you see him, this beautiful man receiving the award. He's receiving it, he's taking it in, but Amma cannot take the award. This is what they didn't realize. So it was quite a funny scene because there was a little trophy that came with this Gandhi King Award, and Jane Goodall kept trying to give it to Amma. And Amma would just go like this and then walk away. If she takes it, she's setting off another set of desires, more karma. She doesn't want to come back, so she won't take it. And so this is like 5 times Jane Goodall offers it to her. She just says thank you, and she moves away. She doesn't take it. And eventually this lady here comes over and takes it from her. So what I'm saying here is, Amma is that she's gone beyond. She's already at the top. She's not doing it for desire fulfillment. But you and I, you know, if I get a Gandhi King Award, believe me, I'm going to strut around a bit. So I'm not, you know, I don't want you all to be more humble than you are. I think that gets us into trouble. It's more the honesty of understanding how, you know, we are all in a process over time of fulfilling our desires. So as long as our intentions are good and we don't overdo it, each house, each sign has its purpose in our evolution. So anyways, in the end, the funniest part of the story is that this little trophy was left in my brother's car. They didn't even take it. My brother was doing all the driving around. Okay. So you see the difference, you know, between us and, you know, and between enlightened being who will not take it. You know, they will just, they'll still do what needs to be done, but they won't take it. So 11th house is called Bhavasthana, which means, now everybody go run and check your charts, which means that all your aspirations have the potential to be fulfilled. That's what bhava means. Bhava means it means what you want to be, it can be fulfilled. Yeah, so planets in the 11th house are kind of, they're hard, but they will fulfill your desires. That's their job description, okay? because they allow you, like this tree, to get taller and taller and leave all the others behind. Okay, that's their job. And so since economic growth is the most tangible form that we use in our world today, as and ability to grow, so we also see your financial success through the 11th house. So good planets in the 11th house, actually most planets in the 11th house are capable of producing money, a lot of wealth. Okay, and your ranks and your influence in the world comes from the 11th house. The 10th house, you're working like mountain man, but the 11th house is when you become famous. They make a documentary about you. Now, maybe you get an advertising, maybe you become the face of, some car manufacturer. That's the 11th, okay? So you see the difference between the two? So 10th is more an individual achievement, and the 11th is the desire to produce something that influences the course of society in some way or the other, okay? So, and it is really the highest on a very pure level. Remember, body, mind, soul. On the very body level, tamasic level, 11th house is just, I want to get rich and famous as possible. That's the 11th house, okay? On the pure sattvic level, it's, I want to reach the highest level of service that I can provide to society. Okay, that's so planets can be functioning in between or only on one side. And that's something that as astrologers you learn to see once you learn how to read charts. The 11th house is also called the house of, it's also called labha. Labha means, actually it's literally translated as gains and yearnings, but in the Indian language it's also translated as greed, okay? So the 11th house has a lot of greed because it has a lot of desire. It's a maximum desire quotient. Is the final Kama sign of the zodiac. Remember, the Gemini, Libra, and all three of these signs have desires. And so the largest yacht and the tallest building, and the largest charity I can build, the biggest house I can live in, that's all. So people with, if your neighborhood has the biggest house, it probably has somebody with a lot of planets in the 11th house. And it's also the house we look towards to see if you know people with connections. If you have a good 11th house, you will meet people who, powerful people who then can help you because they are able to help you climb, right? It's interestingly enough, it's also called the house of older siblings. So when astrologers will read a chart, they will look at your chart, they will look at your third house as your younger siblings, okay? So if you have a really good 11th house, they will say, oh, you get along really well with your older siblings. And if you have, if you have some really difficult planets there, they may ask you, do you have older siblings that are causing you trouble? And the reason older siblings go here is because in a traditional family-oriented society, your older siblings' job, in most cultures was, we don't have that so much in this culture, but was to provide for the younger siblings. They if you have 10 kids, some of them are going to be 20 years older, and they've already set the stage. So when the younger ones come along, they don't have to work so hard. They know people in high places, and they can, So I like to look at it both as how many people do you know in high places, who have connections, as well as older siblings. And the younger siblings are seen generally in your third house, because that's where you're responsible for them. And so what you will see is people who are very famous, or notorious, will have a strong 10th and 11th house, okay? So everybody go run and look at your 11th house. It's really what we all want, okay? Let's be honest. We all want, whether it's to be of highest service to society, or whether it's to have the highest economic status or the biggest house, whatever it is, whether it's, the desire is in all of us, is to take this journey, become of some value, and that people remember you, and that you are, known for whatever it is that you do in life, and hopefully get paid for it too.